Hey guys, so this video was going to be about something that I've been thinking about a lot, and that is regression for people who are on the autism spectrum. I was Googling it, and a lot of websites or blogs call it Aspie burnout. The regression, all the information I found on regression is for children with autism, which we already know happens at a certain stage. Or if you don't know, then there is well-known regression in children with autism when they're like in the toddler age, but not a lot of not a lot of it is mentioned when it comes to adults. And so all I could pretty much find on it was called Aspie burnout or regression. And the one example or the one definition that I really liked was on the blog from Musings of an Aspie. And it says regression can refer to a specific set of skills or abilities. And she lists several, but the two that I feel refer to me would be loss of self-care capabilities, reduced ability to tolerate sensory or social overload. And the reason that I point out those two is because I've noticed since I've hit like my early 20s, I can't believe I'm actually like at mid 20 now, but once I hit like the early 20s, I found that I did feel this sort of regression, even though I wasn't even though I wasn't officially diagnosed yet, but especially the regression with being able to tolerate sounds and certain sensory overloads. I realized that I do get overloaded much more quickly. I think about when I was in elementary school and middle school, and we had pep rallies, and I really didn't like those. I thought they were very loud, and I did find them very overwhelming, but I could sit there and take it. And I was in the band from elementary school up until elementary school and middle school, and then I went into high school and I wasn't in band anymore. I got involved in theater and I played percussion, and I loved band. And now I don't even know if I could go to a school and sit in a band room and like listen to the music. I think that would just be very difficult to do. And I've realized other things with sensory overload. I just feel more quick to feel overwhelmed or jump into fight or flight mode than I used to as a kid versus an adult. And I found it to be very strange, and at first I thought that maybe it was something wrong with me until I started Googling it, and I have another very good friend who is on the autism spectrum, and we've spoken before about regression. And one of the big regression things that's bothered me is the self-care capabilities. I am still able to take care of myself. I mean, I can shower, dress myself. It's not to that big of an extent. But there are some things that have changed. Like I used to cook quite often. I used to cook like almost every night with my household. Before I went off to grad school, I could like find a meal on Pinterest or in a cookbook and like make it by myself, and it would come out pretty good. And now that just seems like an extremely difficult thing to do for some reason. I don't know why, and I can't really put it into words. I've tried to work my way back up by doing simple stuff like hot dogs and sloppy joes, and stuff like that. But cooking, and actually cooking, the thought of cooking and 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 an actual meal now just seems really daunting and like overwhelming, and just seems extremely hard, even though I know that I've done it before, so I could possibly do it again. And I would really like to one day probably try to push myself past the anxiety and overwhelming feeling and just do it. This started once I was at grad school and I was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and just was really having a very difficult time, and had some sort of mental, I don't want to call it a mental breakdown because I don't know if that's the right word to use, but something did change in my mind, and I could tell as it was happening, and I can tell the difference now. And it's also it's really upsetting losing certain things, and just having, I guess burnout would be the best way to put it. I've had burnout in other ways. I used to write a lot and actually got a scholarship to go to school for writing, and used to write all the time, stay up all night writing stuff, and it was actually pretty good, and I got recognition for it. Aside from the scholarship, I got other ways of recognition, and now I haven't written anything since like 2011, maybe 2012. I've tried to write some things and it just doesn't look good to me anymore. It just doesn't. I'm just not satisfied. I'm not pleased with it, and that's also frustrating. I would really compare it to the experience of, if any of you have ever seen the movie or read the book Prozac Nation. Christina Ricci's character, Elizabeth Wurtzel, I believe is her name. But it's a lot like that, except without the drugs and other stuff that she went through. But just that feeling of you're really good at something one day and then it's just gone, and people have these expectations because they know you can do things, and then they may not necessarily understand like what's changed in your mind or why you're a different person. And so if any of you have seen the movie or read the book, then that kind of gives you a better idea of what I'm talking about. I'm trying my best to put it into words, but like, for example, When I first left for college, I went to school in New York for my first semester, and I was extremely independent. I was living pretty much on my own. I mean, I lived in a dorm, but I was out in New York while the rest of my family was in Texas, and I was able to go grocery shopping for myself. I was able to cook for myself. I was able to budget money well, and I was basically able to live like a fully functioning adult on my own. And then even when I was in undergrad, I was able to do the same thing. I did have family. I did have a lot of family around me, but I didn't really need them for anything. Pretty much the only thing I needed people for was for rides, because I didn't have a car. But other than that, I was still budgeting my money on my own. Not really cooking meals because we didn't have a kitchen like I did in my dorm in New York, but I was still able to buy meals for myself. Graduate school started off really independent and then just broke down within a week, and then everything changed, and it's really difficult and frustrating. Like I said, being able to do all these things one minute and then just suddenly have them taken away from you without completely understanding why, and then some people giving you a hard time about it. But then on the plus side, luckily you also have people who support you too. So if there's anybody watching this who can kind of understand or relate to what I'm saying as far as the burnout thing, I would totally love to hear it. And you can, just leave a comment or something. But that is what I wanted to say about it. And since I did reference the musing of an Aspie blog, I will put the link down below so you guys can actually read the whole thing, because it's actually really interesting. But I just want to also give the credit to where I got the information from. So I hope you guys have a good day.